If you're seeing this right now, I hope you have a beautiful day. And I had this feeling this morning for some reason to tell you that it's gonna be okay. And that if you woke up this morning, which clearly you did, that you still have a purpose. You still have things to do. No matter what situation you're going through and no matter how hard it is, you've got to keep pushing. You still have a heartbeat. And that means that you got to keep going. You have a purpose. And I hope you realize that today. You have so many things to be thankful for, whether it's just the fact that you have breath in your lungs, or that you have a heartbeat, or that it's a beautiful day outside, or that the grass is green. You still have so many things to be thankful for, and don't ever take that for granted.
The bodies of Brandon and Jennifer Sheffield were found unalived in their house in Brandon, Mississippi on the day of December 28th. Jennifer's family was actually the ones who called the police. They went over to the house to conduct a welfare check when they haven't heard from her. When they got there, they noticed something was wrong, so they called Brandon Police Department, and officers were able to get inside and notice there was immediate signs of foul play. Brandon Police Chief Joseph French made a statement at 7:19 that morning stating that both bodies were found inside deceased and that it appears to be a murder.
On Saturday,
If
December
you're
the
seeing
28th,
this right now, I hope you have a beautiful day.
Jennifer
And
Sheffield and her
I
husband,
had
40-year-old
this
Brandon
feeling
Sheffield,
this morning
were
for
found
some
inside of
reason
a
to
home
tell
in
you
Brandon,
that it's gonna
Mississippi.
be okay.
Authorities are
And
saying
that
this
if
was
you
a
woke up this
murder
morning, which
unaliving. They
clearly
say
you
that
did,
Brandon took the
that
life of
you
Jennifer
still have a
before taking
purpose.
his own
You
life.
still have things
It's
to
reported that
do.
Jennifer's family actually
No
went
matter
to the
what
home to do a welfare
situation
check on
you're
her,
going
and when
through,
they
and no matter
arrived,
how
they
hard it
noticed obvious
is,
signs
you've
of
got
foul
to
play.
keep pushing.
At that point, they
You
notified
still
law
have a
enforcement,
heartbeat.
who came and
And
made
that means
the
that you got to
tragic
keep
discovery.
going. You have a
In
purpose.
the very
And
last TikTok that
I
Jennifer
hope you
posted,
realize that
she
today.
is talking about how
you have
they
so many
are
things
getting
to be
divorced,
thankful
but
for,
it
whether
seems
it's
like
just the
it's
fact that
amicable.
you have
Happened to Jennifer Sheffield is absolutely tragic and devastating. I just saw a video of a young woman that was so hopeful for her future and the new chapter of her life, and about how she was going through a divorce to her husband that was amicable, and that they were getting along, that he was going to help support their child, and she was looking for advice on how to save money, how to move on, how to be successful in the next chapter of her life. She seems so calm and airy and vibrant and sweet. And then the next video is that her soon-to-be ex-husband took her life and then took his own. I will never understand. It's just devastating. I will never understand. Imagine what her family's going through. Or her just devastating.
Child. Anyone who has been through domestic violence, you know that fear that you know that she was probably feeling. And anyone who has that been through domestic violence, and having her power taken and her choices that taken from her, that she was probably feeling. That's awful. And it is. It's awful. That hopelessness and having her power taken.
And to leave an abuser, you leave a partner that is not ready for you to leave. The most dangerous times. So if you do plan to leave, and I hope that you do, make sure you have a plan, okay? Make sure that you have support.
So I've been offline for a bit. My last video was a bit of a crash out for me. My mental health has not been great. So I had to take some time off, but I wanted to come back on really quick to talk about the Jennifer Sheffield case. She was on my FYP in the beginning of December. She had posted a video about leaving her marriage and how her husband was being supportive and cooperative with her. And she was looking forward to her new life as a single mom. And as a lot of us know, a few weeks after that video was posted, her husband unalived her and himself, leaving their 2 kids with no mother and no father. Besides feeling immense shock and sadness when I read about Jennifer's story, the one thing that really came into my mind is this saying that a lot of people have put into my comments whenever I've talked about the struggles in my marriage and my impending divorce. And that is, the man that you divorce is not the man that you marry. When I first talked to my husband about getting a divorce, I also hoped that this could be something that would be amicable, that my husband would be cooperative and understanding of why I needed to do this. And I realized that I was still looking for my husband to behave how he behaved in the beginning of our marriage, not understanding completely that he's not that man anymore. This has been a slow burn for me, at least. I've been married for 17 years, so it's been a process all throughout these years of my husband changing into this person that I don't even know. He's like a stranger to me now. But when I saw Jennifer's video, I did understand the desire almost that you have for him to somehow just understand and show a last kindness or understanding to you about why you need to do this. But the man that we married is gone. He's gone. That's why we want to be divorced, because that man he's not there anymore. It's a horrible feeling. It's a horrible thing to accept, but it is definitely necessary when you are going on this road to divorce and trying to make this huge life change for yourself. I'm realizing that, and that difficulty of accepting that your husband's not the man that you married. It's definitely a process. It's a very painful process, and it can take years for you to get into acceptance of that. It took years for me. I hope people can have some grace and understanding for why women stay in these marriages for as long as they do, and how difficult it is for them to leave, not just because of their physical safety, but just mentally and emotionally, how difficult it is to accept that this person that you loved, you made a family with, you had children with, is now a stranger.
I just feel as though they will not let this woman escape this man, even in death, and it's sickening. If you don't know who this is Jennifer Sheffield. Jennifer got on TikTok and made a video talking about how her and her husband were in the process of divorce, and she was essentially going on to talk about how amazing he was being during the whole thing, and how everything was going smooth, and they were remaining cordial, and they were just going to divorce amicably. And she really did, in that video, sing his praises, talking about how amazing he was being during the divorce. And then her soon-to-be ex-husband proceeded to take her life not too long after she made that TikTok video. So not only was she attempting to leave a marriage that, in my opinion, was very tumultuous and obviously dangerous if she ultimately lost her life at the hands of this man, not only did she attempt to remain cordial and even continue to speak highly of him in public settings, and not only did that do her no good, and she did ultimately end up losing her life, but then to add insult to injury, when you go to the Facebook pages of some of his family members, you see that they are apparently giving them joint funerals. Joint funerals. And it's like, hey, I can't tell anybody how to grieve, right? But in what world do you think this woman would want to have the final celebration that she will ever have in her entire life, right, be celebrated alongside the man that caused her to not be able to have any more celebrations in life? Like, I couldn't imagine my child being unalived and then the person that unalived them unaliving themselves as well, and me being like, you know what? I think we should bury them together. I think we should have joint services. I just couldn't imagine that. The only rational explanation that I could possibly come up with in my mind was that hopefully they were doing it like for the sake of the children, because very clearly the children are not going to immediately process all that is going on. So instead of them having to go to two separate funerals, let's just do it all in one big shebang. But it just kind of breaks my heart for her, because it just seems as though she was attempting to escape. She was attempting to remain positive, which is why she was asking for advice on like what it's like to be a single mom, because she was going to be a newly single mother. She was just talking about how she was just, kind of excited to get a fresh start in life. And then like she had the man that she was trying to leave kill her. And now after her attempt to escape fails, she doesn't even get to have her own celebration of life. Like, it's almost as if he was able to succeed exactly what he wanted. You don't get to leave me. Even after death, even at your funeral, I'm gonna be there. And it's sick. And I am so sorry, but I have actually had my fill of some of the social media posts that I am seeing be made about him by like his friends or his family, because it's like, read the room. Like, I actually don't care if you went to high school with him, if you can't believe that he would do something like this. You haven't known the man since he was 16, 17. You don't know that man at all. I actually don't care if you worked with him every week. Y'all don't know each other past clocking in and clocking out. And it's just like, I'm having an easier time finding posts of people giving condolences to him or talking about how they can't believe he would do something like this than I am being able to find posts saying rest in peace to the poor woman who lost her life. Or I'm so sorry to the children who had both of their parents snatched away from them senselessly. And then not only did they have both their parents snatched away from them senselessly, but it was at the hands of their own father. I'm having a hard time finding those posts. I mean, I've seen a couple, but the ones of people, hold on. Like this post is very difficult to follow through. I've known both of them for a very long time, and they were two of the most fun, loving, energetic people to hang with. They love their friends and those babies so much. Prayers to the families and the girls. Rest in peace and fly high. Brandon Sheffield and Jennifer. Of course, he goes first. This one hits home a little too hard. Never assume you know the demons everyone is battling inside. He wasn't battling demons. He is the demon. And obviously he didn't love those babies very much because he took away their father and their mother. People who love their children don't purposely choose to leave their children orphans due to their own petty feelings and emotions. Because at the end of the day, being upset over you and your wife divorcing is a petty emotion. Like, it is like a hard thing. It is heartbreaking to experience, but it is not worth people losing their lives over. People get divorced every single day. People move on, find new loves, get remarried. Thought process of, if I can't have you, no one else will. If you're going to leave me, I'll just take out the both of us, was very clearly more important than the supposed love he had for the children who are now left with nothing. Or like this comment, I understand the frustration. Allow me to share a story about Brandon Sheffield. He and my husband were in MMA and were each other's cornermen and trained together. My husband took a kick to the abdomen from Brandon while they were training. Long story short, it ended my husband's future or any chance at it, as his colon had ruptured and he had emergency surgery. Now, during all this, Brandon never left my side. He waited through the surgery, and when he took my husband's truck home, he found my birthday present in his truck and brought it to the hospital room. He wanted to make sure I got what my hubby bought me. He stayed in the room with me and we took turns tending to him. A few months later, Brandon wanted him to go to New Orleans with him, but his surgical wound had been left open to heal and he had a colostomy bag. I was afraid for him to go due to me having to pack his wound and change his dressings. Brandon asked me if I thought him, and he promised to care for him. Oh, of course you can't write a coherent thought out. Brandon asked me if I thought him and if he promised to care for him, could he go? He came over and I taught him, and off they went. He even called me with each dressing change and let me know all was okay. They were best buddies and Brandon was a gift. I know he loved Jennifer and nobody knows what happened. I was a little taken back by the shared ceremony. That was your common sense taking in. That was your instincts trying to take over, right? I was a little taken back by the shared ceremony of their funeral service, but I have been praying for them both and God showed me a different understanding. These two, no matter what, would want those babies to see unity and love in the face of trauma and chaos. They live together, and no matter what, how it happened, the families are uniting to get through this. I think in light of them dying tragically, it would be a loss not to keep them united. It's easier for me to understand than explain, but I think the families are celebrating the life they had together in the purest form of forgiveness. We all grieve differently, but those two were loved, and I think focusing on forgiveness and the celebration of their life is much healthier. I hope this helps. We all have demons and or skeletons in our closet no matter what. We are all God's children, and forgiveness is key. My husband and I immediately forgave Brandon, and we never regretted it. How easy it must be for you to forgive him when you're still living and breathing and able to be here for your children if you have any. That's real. It's real convenient. Like somebody punching you in the face and me looking at the person who punched you and me being like, oh, I forgive you. It's fine. What? The only person that could forgive him is the person whose life he took. And she unfortunately is not here to do that. So, and it's like, are we not stopping to think that maybe this family and this friend group's very clear inability to acknowledge, or just plain unwillingness to acknowledge, the very clearly wrong things that are happening in front of them, their very clear inability or unwillingness to be honest about the very wrong things that are happening right in front of them, do you think that maybe could have possibly played a part in things being able to go as far as they did? Like, this is making it hard for, like, regardless of how nice you want, like, how much you want to talk about how amazing he was because he brought a birthday present to the hospital, right? This isn't doing anything but leading me to believe that maybe there were some red flags that showed and y'all just prayed about it all the time. Gave it to God, gave it to God, gave it to God, until she got gave to God. Like, I know religious, like, people who are super, super, super religious like to believe that free will is just inherently a bad thing, right? And while your free will can lead you into temptation, it also gives you the capability of taking things into your own hands when necessary. Sometimes you don't need to give it to God. Sometimes you need to give it to the authorities. Sometimes you need to give it to, I don't know, a professional psychologist, therapist. Sometimes you actually need to give things some real critical thought. You actually don't need to just pray about it and then move on as if nothing's happening. No matter how much good somebody does, that actually doesn't cancel out the bad things that they have done. You don't get to just tally up all your good deeds through life and be like, all right, I think I've finally saved up enough good deeds to justify a murder. I would be so heartbroken if I was Jennifer. I am so heartbroken for Jennifer. You know, maybe they are doing the joint funerals, so the kids don't have to go to multiple funerals. I really do hope it's for the sake of the kids at least. But you still need to be honest with those children about what their father did. You don't need to justify it or sugarcoat it or try to polish it up with the gospel. You need to make sure that they know that that is wrong, else I am highly concerned for the type of men those little girls will grow up and get with one day. But he wasn't a poor, helpless soul that fell victim to his demons. He was a grown man that made a choice.